Hey folks, Alan Manick, the Hot Rod Hippie here. This video is one that traditional hot rodders will definitely not be behind, but I think it's interesting and I think you should really check these things out. This is the EVs, the electric vehicles of SEMA 2019. Let's check it out. SEMA 2019 coverage is brought to you by the fine folks at Trick Tools, high-performance tools for fabricators, and home of the no-junk guarantee. SEMA coverage is also brought to you by the folks at Sunex Tools, high-quality hand tools, shop equipment, and tool storage options at affordable prices. Links in the description down below. Many folks are what I would say resistant to change. In the hot rod world, in any portion of the world, honestly, to me, I'm always interested in seeing what's next, what's coming. Now, SEMA is a hectic event. There's a lot going on there, but I found 4 EVs I want to highlight. There were more than that there, but these are the ones I found most interesting. I wasn't going to show you just a lowered Tesla or anything like that. These are more intriguing RestoMod type situations, or even new cars with high performance slants on the concept of an EV. Let's start off with the Chevrolet booth. Chevrolet last year had their E-Copo on display. This year, well, they had the E-10. This is a 1965 Chevy C10 pickup truck with an electric motor conversion in it. Now this is put together with Chevy Bolt components. These are car components, production components already in use in GM vehicles and proven reliable. That was kind of the focus of GM's idea here. They want to put together a connect and cruise crate motor kit, which is their plug and play crate motor options that they have, like LS3s and LS motors and such. This particular truck was featuring 2 of the Chevy Bolt motors in line, coupled together, and mated to a 4L75E 4-speed automatic transmission. The idea here is you'd be able to bolt this combination up to anything that was going to bolt to a regular LS style or small block Chevy style bell housing, since there's only minor difference between those two. This particular application is using twin Chevy Bolt 400 volt batteries in it. I kept hearing people saying things about the fact that, oh, there's no room in the bed, you can't haul anything here.
I think if you haul dirt in it.
Yeah, okay, I understand the concept. The entire bed is taken up with batteries. How useful is that? That's silly. But you have to think about the fact they just put this together with production components showing you what they could do. They didn't cut and modify the frame. They didn't make special mounting locations for things. They kind of just put things where it was going to fit and work. In the same regard, like my dad's 1965 C10 pickup I've been working on with him, that thing is step notched in the back. So your bed is only going to be like maybe 10, 12 inches deep there as well. People don't complain about the uselessness of the bed on that truck because they think it's cool. Now those twin bolt motors are putting out approximately 450 horsepower in this thing. They're claiming around a 5-second 0 to 60 time and a high 13-second quarter mile. Now the fact that they didn't give any solid numbers was a little to me, but it's showing that a big pickup truck like this with batteries in the back and all this stuff going on can still get up and go. The thing I don't care for is there's actually a 5-selection speaker system on this thing. The speaker system emulates the sound of a V8 engine. I really don't get that. Like, if you're gonna build an EV, just own it. Don't have a speaker playing a V8 rumble out of the thing. That's all up to you, what you want. If you think that's cool, cool. You'll be able to put it together with a single motor, a twin motor, or triple motor setup. As I said, the double motor's putting out about 450 horsepower, so I'm guessing that they're 225 each, meaning if you went for the triple motor setup, you could be putting down 675 horsepower out of that combination. The other thing that GM has noted about this configuration is that there is the possibility for hot rodding this. That means you can not only pick which combination of motor stack you want, but also inverters and different components to go with that setup, so you could maybe lose a little bit of range but get better quarter mile time, or have better range for drivable, usable performance. So you could actually kind of configure this down the road to be how you want it to be. Next up was the folks over at the Ford booth. Now this car was swamped, and this is one of the points that I found interesting. So many people talk down on electric cars and grumble about the whole concept, but then each electric car I came to at SEMA was surrounded by people every time I got to them. It really shows me that there's more going on here than people want to admit. They had the Ford Lithium Mustang on display. Now, the Lithium Mustang is a concept car, but the idea here was they wanted to see the interest. How much interest do people have in this combination? As I said, people were swapping this thing the whole time, so between that and then since SEMA has talked about the Mustang SUV that's all electric, I freaking despise that they named that thing the Mustang, by the way. My friends and I have had running jokes all the time that the Mustang's the only car that they can sell, so they just keep calling everything Mustang. That's gonna be the way it is from now on. that aside, that car has sold out. So there is interest out there for these things. This one could be really interesting. This was a collaboration with the Webasto company, and now they put together the 800 volt lithium battery setup going in this thing. Now think about that. The E-10 was a 400 volt setup and was putting out 450 horsepower. Guess what? This one's putting out 900 horsepower and 1,000 foot-pounds of torque. Now this is using a 5-power dual-core motor. Now when asked, nobody really had an answer for what a dual-core motor is, but the best I can tell is that it is 2 motors inside of 1 housing. They had one on display there, and I looked up the specifications from the folks at 5-power as well. Now this is basically a modified version of the 5-power PH382 as far as I can tell. That one is only putting out like 700 some horsepower, I believe, so you're actually looking at quite a bump in horsepower in this Ford configuration, whether it be from a modified motor, inverter, or the larger battery setup, I cannot say. This whole combination is fitted to a 6-speed jetrag, I don't know how to say that, transmission in this thing. It's been beefed up to handle the power output, along with the entire independent rear suspension and all of that having upgraded components to handle the big power this thing is putting out. Now, did I mention that 1,000 foot-pounds of torque is at just over 1,000 RPM on the motor? This motor only spins out to 6,000 RPM total, so it's just mind-blowing that directly off the line, you put your foot to the floor, you've got that power right where you want it. And that is the thing about electric motors, is that power is just there. It's on demand. The torque curve is not flat on this one. You can actually see that via the PH382 chart over here, but it is seriously powerful nonetheless. Now there was a dedicated EV section. It took me a while to find it. There were only 3 vehicles in it, and only one of them piqued my interest, and that was the Street Fighter LA EV West collaboration on a 1977 Porsche 911. Now I am not a Porsche person, but this thing caught my eye for sure. The wide body kit, the polished up roll cage, and that clean interior. The work that I saw was excellent on this thing. The folks at EV West killed the swap on it, and they did it with a Tesla motor setup. Now this is a Tesla Model S conversion with all bolt-in design in this thing. The folks at EV West made this thing bolt-in. There's no modification to the body to fit the motor setup. There's no modification to the framework. It just bolted in place of the original flat 6 engine. And it's putting out 563 horsepower out of this combination. That's 3 times what the original flat 6 engine was able to produce. I don't have any information on what they did to pump up the power on the Tesla motor, unfortunately, because the Tesla Model S's are somewhere in the 400 horsepower range. So they really pumped this thing up a little bit. I'm assuming with inverter or battery changes over to this setup, they were able to get that additional power. But this seems like this could be a serious corner carving electric vehicle. I could see this out on the PCH really cruising along the coast. This is the place that I really see EVs coming together into a more mainstream concept with things like this. Right now, I can jump on eBay and I can find these Tesla motor combinations for less than $5,000 on the regular. Try and find a V8 small block Chevy, something like that, making 500 plus horsepower for those kind of numbers. You're not gonna do it. Granted, you might get a warranty with a crate motor, but that's beside the point. This is just something unique and different. This is the kind of package I could see myself doing. I would love to do an EV swap. I've just never had a customer come to me and actually want to do that with their vehicle. Now, last but most certainly not least was the folks over at Xing Mobile. Now, Xing Mobile is a lithium battery producer. They are producing a really interesting, what they're calling the Immersio battery. And we'll get to that in a moment. But this is a 1969 convertible Camaro with a 450 volt system in it, producing 320 horsepower. Now that's the most conservative power output that I've talked about in this video, but this is also meant to be more of a bolt-in setup. Just bolt it together, put it in your vehicle, and go. They want to make it easy on folks. You can see here their motor combination is bolted together with just a regular Chevy small block bell housing, and that's what they're aiming for. It's just a bolt-in application. So you don't, again, don't need to have an electrical engineering degree. You don't have to wire out wire by wire and figure it out on your own. Now their Immersio battery technology is what I thought was really interesting for a couple of reasons. Electric vehicle batteries, when you're talking about higher capacity, all the vehicles we've talked about in this video, they are water cooled. They are liquid cooled to keep those things cooled down so they don't overheat, so they don't run away, and you end up with those boom, 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 C-rich rebuilds if you want to see a battery go boom. Now the folks at Xing Mobile, they have a unique take on this idea. Their batteries are immersed in cooling fluid, not just piped through or around the battery packs. You might think, fluid in with the battery, how's that not gonna go bad? That's the key here. They're using 3M Novec for their fluid. If you're at all familiar with 3M Novec, it is a really interesting chemical. It is not only non-conductive, so you don't have to worry about bridging any of the battery together or shorting anything out, but it's also flame retardant. It's fire retardant. So you not only cool the batteries by having the fluid all wrapped around the cells, keeping everything nice and cool, but also even if it was to try and run away and start sparking and going crazy on you, you have a flame retardant, a fire suppressant right there next to it to shut it down. On their website, they have a couple other combinations and setups like direct drive motors, putting out like 400 horsepower, 700 foot-pounds at a 650 volt version. They didn't talk about whether they were thinking about bringing that kind of setup into the aftermarket automotive world, but yeah, I could see that being an interesting combination for some folks wanting a bit more power. Now the Xing mobile batteries are also modular, meaning you can kind of stack these things together and change them out so you can actually have more batteries or less batteries depending on if you're worried about keeping your cargo space or you want to have more range. You could do that if you want. Like you can see the Camaro actually had batteries in the back seat, so you didn't have a back seat. But they did that because this is a larger range version. They wanted to get more miles out of the charge on this setup. Now, I don't want to be unfair to the folks at Xing Mobility because for all I know, Ford and GM are going to be more expensive because I didn't get numbers from them. But what I can say for them is the folks at Xing Mobility, we're talking like $55,000 for the short range combination battery and like $75,000 for the long range combination battery. Now, that is just battery. You're talking motor and all that on top of that, though the battery is the most expensive component in the configuration. So you're still talking sub $100,000 for a long range setup, but you're still talking $100,000 for the long range setup. You could buy a Tesla Model S. That's going to be up to you whether or not you're actually that interested in converting a classic car to electric. Now, I don't know if it's translating to you folks, but I am truly, actually really excited about the future with things like this. These combinations, these pushes toward innovation and new ideas and new designs are always interesting to me. Like, I love the classic stuff. This diesel supercharger that I'm eventually going to put onto a classic roadster street rod, I love that. I do. But I also like to see these new innovations, these new ideas, and this new technology really come together and create intriguing combinations. If you found this video interesting, please go ahead and drop it a like down below. It really helps out. Let me know in the comments down below. What do you think of these EVs? Too rich for your blood? Do you hate the idea of not having that rumble of V8? Let me know what you're thinking in the comments down below. Go ahead and get subscribed to keep up to date with all the content. We're back to the normal Hot Rod Hippie content coming very soon. Thanks for coming around, folks.